Drama is sneakier than you think. Leave the drama at the door. Part 2. Welcome back to the Glitter You Get Unstuck podcast. This is part 2 of a 3-part series called Leave the Drama at the Door. In the first episode, we talked about learning to trust what I call the icky feeling, that moment when something just feels off in your body. Maybe a conversation that drains you. Maybe an environment that feels really heavy. Maybe you leave a room wondering why your energy suddenly dropped. Or maybe you're the person that's not even paying attention to the signals that your body's giving you. And hopefully this little series is going to help you be a little bit more mindful and be aware of your senses. That feeling is information, and today I want to talk to you about something that might be a little uncomfortable to admit. Sometimes we participate in drama without even realizing it. And the reason this is important to talk about is because most people think drama only looks one way. They picture maybe high school drama, cliques at the, schoolyard or in the cafeteria, or the cheerleaders versus the smart people, or they picture maybe even yelling like Real Housewives, or conflict or arguments, big emotional explosions maybe. But the truth is most drama doesn't actually look like that at all. Not in my experience anyway, but most drama is quiet. There are different kinds of drama. It moves through conversations, though. It circulates through complaints, frustrations, gossip, or constant problem talk. And before you know it, you're standing in the middle of an energy exchange that leaves everyone more drained than when the conversation started. One of the sneakiest ways drama shows up is through what I call venting loops. And you know what I mean. Like someone comes to you to vent about something that's bothering them. And at first, you want to be super supportive. Of course you do. That's normal. You listen, you empathize, and you try to help. But then the conversation keeps circling the same frustration over and over again, like nothing's actually changing. We're not making any progress. We're not being open to listening to other ways of thinking. The problem is not being solved. The energy is just circulating. And after a while, you walk away from that conversation feeling exhausted. Do you know what I mean? Have you felt that before? Not because you did anything wrong, but because you just spent 30 minutes swimming in someone else's emotional storm. Another sneaky way that drama spreads is through what I call emotional dumping. And this is when someone unloads everything that they're feeling onto you without really taking responsibility for processing it themselves. Now listen, we all need people we can talk to. That is healthy. But there's a difference between sharing something honestly and repeatedly offloading emotional weight onto someone else. If every conversation leaves you feeling heavier, that's a sign that something is not balanced. And then there's the role that a lot of empathetic people fall into without realizing it. Hello, I am Miss Empathetic here. Is being the rescuer. And if you're someone who cares deeply about people, you probably feel a natural pull to help. Like you want to solve the problem. You want to support your people. You want to make things better for them. But sometimes that instinct can pull you into situations that were never yours to fix in the first place. You start trying to manage someone else's emotions. You start trying to solve someone else's conflict. You start carrying stress that doesn't belong to you. And that's where the cycle of drama quietly grows And again, you may not be aware because drama needs participants. It needs people to keep the energy circulating. And sometimes the most compassionate people, wholehearted people, good people, solid people, accidentally become the ones holding the whole thing together. That is something I've been noticing more and more in my own life. There are moments when you can feel a conversation starting to shift into that space. Maybe someone starts talking about another person. Maybe frustration starts building. Maybe the conversation moves away from solutions and into constant complaint. In those moments, you actually have a choice. You can either keep feeding the conversation, or you can step out of that energy at any time. That doesn't mean you have to be rude. It doesn't mean you stop caring about people. It just means that you start protecting your peace. These are boundaries. This is also in my course, my program called Dare to Say No. I go deeper into boundary setting, but sometimes that looks like changing the subject. Sometimes it looks like not engaging in certain conversations. Again, interesting. Sometimes it looks like quietly stepping away from environments that thrive on negativity. Because here's the truth. You cannot control other people's behavior, but you can control how much access their energy has to you. And the more you start paying attention to these dynamics, the more clarity you see how energy moves through environments. It becomes clear. You start recognizing when conversations are productive because you feel good. And when you start paying attention or feeling that, being mindful of that, you can also tell when they're just circulating emotional noise. Interesting. And that awareness gives you something very powerful. It's called choice. You get to decide, we get to decide what you participate in. You get to decide which conversations deserve your energy. You get to decide what kind of emotional environment you want to live in. This is where protecting your peace really begins. Because once you recognize how drama circulates, you can start choosing differently. Now, for me, I find that people who are doing more than you don't have time to talk about what other people are doing or what's going on in other people's lives. People that are doing good things for the world and looking to grow and become better, they're talking about good things going on in the world. They're not talking about other people. That's just my own experience. But once you recognize how drama circulates, you can start choosing differently. You don't have to step into every emotional storm that appears in front of you. It's not your job. You can care about people without absorbing everything that they're carrying. And that brings us to the final part of this series. Because in the next episode, we're going to talk about what it actually means to leave the drama at the door. I say this all the time, especially when I'm teaching my bar classes. I'll say, when we get in there, let's just leave it at the door. Leave all the ish at the door. Whatever's happened to you today that may have not been the best thing, leave it at the door. Let it go. But as we go through learning how to make these choices and make these pivots and set those healthy boundaries and learn to talk about let me be creative. Let me do something new. Let me start a new project. Let me challenge myself to do something better in nutrition and fitness and movement and, writing a book, making a podcast. Make this a way of living, how to protect the energy of your environment and how to choose conversations that build people up instead of tearing them down. Learn to look at things through a different lens and how to create spaces in your life, in your work, in your relationships where peace has more room than chaos. So if today's episode made you recognize some of these patterns, that's a really good thing. Awareness is the first step. And remember our word. Interesting. That's a cue for yourself. Something you're feeling. And once you see it, you start realizing something really important. You don't have to participate in every conversation. You don't have to carry every emotional burden placed in front of you. We all have them every single day put on our plate. And sometimes the healthiest thing you can do is simply step out of that energy. Interesting. I'll see you in part 3.